Today, let's make rasam powder at home. Most of the times, we are guilty that we use the store-bought ones. Today, let's make it very easy. Let's make this at home. What is a rasam? Rasam comes from the Sanskrit word ras, transliterated rasa, which means a juice, sap or an essence. So today, let's literally make the essence of a rasam, the rasam powder. Let's begin. So like I said, this is all about its essences and flavors. Now that comes from the rasam powder. Now for that, it's very important to choose the right kind of chili balance. Of course, it has to be a mix of chili that gives you good color and good spice. Now I've used Kashmiri and Bedgi. Of course, Kashmiri for that nice vibrant color and Bedgi for its spice. It's important to snap the stalks off, break these like so, and add it with the seeds in the pan. At this point in time, the pan is cold. Well, chilies are also extremely fragile because when they dry, the skin becomes very thin and there are chances, 99%, that the skin becomes brown or black, and you do not want that because you do not want that smokiness which is very untoward in this recipe. Ensure that the chilies are nicely roasted on low flame and you bring out all the essential oils from the chili, the seeds and the skin. Adding in Bedgi chilies. Like I said, this one is to bring out the spice in the recipe. Now talking about chilies, of course I've spoken about the varieties, but how do you gauge whether the chilies are fresh or no? Now of course these are dried chilies, but when I say fresh, it means how old they are or how aged they are. Now generally when the chilies are fresh, they're nice and bright from within. But the moment they start getting older, it develops like a misty green color from within, almost like talcum powder. And that's where you can't do anything with the chilies. You just have to knock the whole stalk out. Let's turn the flame on. And on low to medium flame, you're going to keep turning this so that the essential oils release from the skin. And that in turn is going to start roasting the chilies beautifully well. Now in any case, if you do not want the rasam powder to be extremely pungent, extremely hot or spicy, you can do one thing. You can take all this aside and just remove the seeds and discard them. Simple. However, what you can also do is, in case you feel the Bedgi chilies are slightly on the higher side, reduce it. Create your own little balance when it comes to chilies. What I like, especially for this recipe, is equal quantities. 9 Kashmiri chilies, 9 Bedgi chilies, and that's my mix. If you want, you can increase the color, decrease the spice, keep playing around. Now, in case you want to make the rasam powder with that prominence of black pepper and call it like a black pepper rasam, reduce both, bring it to half and increase the quantity of black pepper. Simple, so that the pungency stays, the balance stays and the flavor is top notch. While roasting chilies, ensure that the windows are open, your exhaust is on if you have that in your home kitchen, because you do not want to get stuffed by the whole smoke of the chilies. It's just going to be uncomfortable for you. Let's transfer this in a deep bowl. Let's keep this aside for now and let's start broiling the next ingredients, beginning with coriander seeds. Of course, these are picked well. You do not want these little stalks in the coriander seeds. While this is happening, I'm going to start adding in the rest of the ingredients, beginning with black peppercorns. I've already told you, in case you want that little bit of accentuated flavor of black peppercorns, increase it and decrease the chilies. Curry leaves, cumin seeds, black mustard seeds, some fenugreek seeds. Now, fenugreek seeds generally have a tendency of getting the flavor slightly accentuated while it is resting in the refrigerator. So accordingly, if you're making it for a fresh purpose, add it according to this recipe. In case you're looking at keeping this for a longer time, reduce the quantity because like I said, it's going to keep getting bitterer and bitterer, if I can use that word. With this, we turn the flame on again and on medium flame, we're going to roast all of this till it's nice and fragrant but not brown or not burnt. Now because I'm making a smaller batch or a smaller quantity, this would make somewhere around say 1.5 liters of a rasam. I am taking all the ingredients together at once and I'm then making like a mixture. In case you're making like a big batch, like a 5 kilo spice mix or a 10 kilo spice mix, either for commercial reasons or for home reasons, I would advise you to roast or broil all these ingredients separately, because that way you can control the browning or the flavor opening of each ingredient. This is done and ready. Let's transfer this also in the chili mix. And while this mixture is still kind of hot, I'm going to add in 2 ingredients to this. The first one, of course, is turmeric powder. I'm going to smear it like so, almost like sprinkling on top of the entire chili and spice mix. And finally, asafoetida or hing. Now, I am doing this for 2 reasons. One is because when I do something like this, or when I kind of sprinkle the spices, especially turmeric and asafoetida on top of the spices which are already hot, the flavor with the residual heat will kind of open up. It will also help in evaporating any moisture, if there's any, in those 2 spices. So that way the keeping quality just gets better. One quick toss and allow this now to come down to room temperature. In case you're making this in a larger batch, this is going to take a while because the chilies have the tendency of absorbing a lot of heat. Keep this not under the fan, just keep it opened out on a surface, and that's where it is. 2 hours, 3 hours, and that's perfect if the quantity is large. This would be around 15 minutes. Our rasam spice mix has cooled down. Let's transfer this in a grinder jar. Time to grind this in a fine and smooth powder. We need to give this a few taps before we open the cap, otherwise you'll end up spilling it all over. With this, you have the rasam powder, which is done and ready. Nice, smooth, wonderfully fragrant, and of course, flavorful. Let's transfer this and straight put this to use. Now, because the spice mix is warm at this stage, now why would it be warm? Because we had cooled it, literally, we had brought the temperature down to room temperature. But while it gets mixed or while it gets ground, there is some heat that generates in the grinder itself. Now, because of that, it's important to air this for at least 5 to 7 minutes. Keep it out, just allow it to breathe, just allow it to rest. Allow this mixture also to come down to room temperature. Only once that happens, we'll transfer it in an airtight container. Now, why would you do that? Because the moisture would end up ruining the entire spice mix. With this, your rasam powder is done and ready. Now, in case you're using this right away, of course, you can make the recipe and use a few spoons of this for that nice intense flavor of the rasam. The second option is to keep this at room temperature and keep this for like a month or so that it's still vibrant and still nice. In case you wish to keep this longer, you can keep this refrigerated and that would stay very well for 3 months. This would also stay extremely well deep frozen, and that would stay very well for 6 months. The only thing here is to remember, anytime you wish to use this, do not use a wet spoon. Use a clean spoon, a dry spoon, and that's where you have the most amazing rasam powder at home. With this is me, the Bombay Chef, signing off.